Welcome to Monk's Temple. Find a comfortable position. Lying down, sitting, perhaps walking slowly. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you're here, giving yourself permission to just be. To let these words wash over you. Take a breath. Just one conscious breath. Feel the air enter, feel it leave. That's it. There's a word that has become a spiritual celebrity in our modern world. Acceptance. We're told it's the key to happiness, the answer to everything that troubles us. Accept yourself. Accept your circumstances. Accept your thoughts. Just accept. On the surface, this sounds beautiful. Radical openness. Dropping all resistance. Who wouldn't want that? But spiritual celebrities get simplified. Reduced to slogans easy to repeat but hard to understand. And I think that's happened with acceptance. The nuanced teaching has been flattened into a one-size-fits-all command that often leaves people confused. Have you ever tried to accept something truly difficult? Something fundamentally unacceptable? A diagnosis, a betrayal, a loss. You told yourself, I just need to accept this. But the more you tried, the more you felt you were failing. Because forced acceptance isn't acceptance. It's just fighting yourself. So tonight, we're holding this word up to the light. We're going to see what it meant in its original context, in the earliest teachings of the Buddha. Because he wasn't interested in slogans. He was interested in tools. Real tools for freeing the heart from suffering. Let me tell you a story. There was a woman named Clara, a pianist whose most prized possession was a grand piano passed down from her grandmother. It wasn't just an instrument. It was a companion, a piece of family history. The wood was dark, the keys slightly worn, the sound rich and alive. One evening, Clara returned home to find water dripping from her ceiling. A pipe had burst upstairs, and water was streaming onto her precious piano. By the time she tried to move it, it was too late. The water had seeped into the wood, the felt, the intricate mechanism. Technicians shook their heads. The damage was irreversible. The wood warped. The soundboard compromised. It could never be restored. Clara sat with that news. Her first instinct was to force acceptance. She sat before the damaged piano and repeated like a mantra, I accept this. I accept that it's ruined. I accept that my grandmother's piano is gone. But the words felt hollow. Because she didn't accept it. She was heartbroken. Angry. Grieving. And every time she forced acceptance, she felt more disconnected from her true feelings. Now she was sad and also guilty for being sad. Then an older friend visited. She sat with Clara and asked a simple question, what do you love about this piano? Clara was startled. But then the words came. She loved the way the wood felt. The slight stickiness of one key from her childhood. The deep bass notes. The memory of her grandmother's hands. How the piano held their family history. The friend listened. Then she said, that love is still here. The piano is damaged, but your love isn't. Don't try to accept the loss. Just feel the love. Something shifted. Clara stopped forcing acceptance and just let herself feel. She grieved. She was angry. She let it all be there without judgment. And from that honest place, a new thought arose. Not acceptance, but possibility. She looked at the damaged piano and began to imagine. Over months, she dismantled it. The curved wood became frame for new art. Ivory keys became mosaic. Strings became a sound sculpture. Felt lined a small jewelry box. The result wasn't a piano. It was something new, born from ruins. And Clara realized something profound. Her peace hadn't come from accepting the loss. It came from moving through grief into a new relationship with what remained. This is what we miss when we reach for acceptance too quickly. We try to skip the messy middle, to jump from pain to peace without passing through honest feeling. We rob ourselves of wisdom. If this exploration resonates, I'd like to gently invite you to subscribe to Monk's Temple. A simple way of saying this matters. Just tap the subscribe button below. Thank you. So here we are at the beginning. And already we're seeing acceptance isn't as simple as it first appeared. Clara's story shows that what we call acceptance might sometimes be avoidance. When we turn to the earliest teachings of the Buddha, we find something surprising. He rarely used the word we translate as acceptance. And when he did, he meant something specific: tolerating, enduring, bearing with something. Not embracing or affirming it. Just bearing it. There were only 3 contexts where he said this was necessary. Tolerating harsh speech. Tolerating physical pain. Tolerating the grief of losing a loved one. 3 situations. Everywhere else, his teaching was not about acceptance. It was about effort. Action. Transformation. He wasn't teaching passive acceptance of reality. He was teaching active engagement with it, shaping it toward greater freedom. Acceptance was never the goal. Just a starting point. The foundation from which real work could begin. Think about your own life. When have you grown most? When you simply accepted things? Or when you recognized something was wrong and decided to do something? This is the paradox. The Buddha asks us to accept certain things so we're free to not accept others. The past is a closed door. Acceptance is stopping pounding on it. But the present is an open field. And in that field, we're called not to accept, but to create. To choose. To act with wisdom. Sit with this distinction. Acceptance as toleration, not embrace. As foundation, not destination. Take a breath. When you're ready, we'll continue. Take another breath. Let the last part settle. Clara's piano, her grief, her transformation. These aren't just stories. They're mirrors. And now we're going to look more deeply at what the Buddha actually taught about acceptance. The modern idea of acceptance carries 2 main meanings. The first is the opposite of denial. This one most of us understand. You can't fix what you won't acknowledge. The Buddha fully endorsed this kind of clear seeing. But the second meaning is far bigger. Acceptance as non-judgment. Embracing everything without discrimination. This version says we suffer because we judge things as good or bad, and we can end suffering by simply affirming all of reality exactly as it is. This sounds compassionate. But when we look at what the Buddha actually taught, we find something quite different. In the Pali Canon, the oldest record of his teachings, the Buddha used the word for acceptance in only 3 specific situations. Harsh speech. physical pain, the death of a loved one. But even in these cases, he didn't stop at acceptance. He always provided tools for minimizing suffering. He never said, just accept it and that's enough. And here's what's even more important. There's an enormous range of things the Buddha explicitly said not to accept. Unskillful mind states. Thoughts of greed. Thoughts of hatred. Thoughts of delusion. He didn't say observe them with non-judgmental awareness and let them be. He said abandon them. Destroy them. Wipe them out of existence. That's strong language. It sounds like a battle. Because it is. Let me tell you another story. There was a man named Daniel who worked as a high school teacher. He was good at his job, loved by students. But Daniel had a secret. Every night, he would sit alone in his apartment and drink until he couldn't feel anything anymore. Daniel had heard about acceptance. He'd read books telling him to accept himself exactly as he was. So he tried. When the craving for a drink arose, he would sit with it. He would observe it mindfully, accepting its presence without judgment. He would tell himself, this craving is part of me. I accept it. But the cravings didn't diminish. They grew. Because Daniel wasn't practicing acceptance. He was practicing resignation disguised as spirituality. He was using non-judgment to avoid making a judgment that terrified him, the judgment that his drinking was harming him. One day, a colleague noticed the dark circles under his eyes. She looked at him directly and said, Daniel, something is wrong. You need to decide if you're going to let this thing keep running your life. That night, Daniel sat alone. The craving arrived as always. But this time, instead of accepting it, he looked at it with new eyes. He saw its allure, yes. The promise of numbness. But he also saw its drawback. The mornings of shame. The declining health. The distance growing between him and everyone he loved. And for the first time, he made a judgment. He looked at that craving and said, this is not okay. This is causing suffering. That judgment wasn't unkind. It was the most compassionate thing he could have done. It was the judgment of a gardener looking at weeds and deciding to pull them out. Daniel didn't stop drinking that night. But something shifted. He stopped accepting the unacceptable. He stopped pretending that non-judgment meant never choosing. And slowly, with effort, he began to transform. This is the distinction the Buddha makes. There are things you must tolerate because you cannot change them. Harsh words. Physical pain. Loss. These are the salt of past karma. You accept them as your starting point. But the mind states that arise in response, those are your present karma. Those are yours to work with. And the Buddha's instruction is clear. Do not accept unskillful mind states. See them. Understand them. And then abandon them. This is not judgment of yourself as a person. It's discernment about your actions. The Buddha never asked anyone to judge their inherent worth. He asked them to judge whether their actions led to suffering or freedom. Think about your own mind. When anger arises, what happens if you simply accept it without judgment? Sometimes it might dissolve. But often, it lingers. It grows. It finds justifications. The Buddha understood this. He taught that some suffering dissolves when you look with equanimity. But other suffering requires what he called exerting a fabrication. Making an effort. Consciously shaping your breathing, your thoughts, your perceptions to undermine the unskillful state. This is active. This is engaged. This is the opposite of passive acceptance. In the ancient texts, the Buddha compares mindfulness to a gatekeeper at a fortress. A gatekeeper doesn't just watch everyone pass by without judgment. Enemies would walk right in. A good gatekeeper watches carefully, recognizes friend from foe, and acts accordingly. This is mindfulness. It remembers what's skillful. It judges. It chooses. It protects. So we arrive at a crucial distinction. Modern global acceptance says, don't judge anything, just let it all be. The Buddha's teaching says, judge wisely, based on what leads to genuine well-being, and act on that judgment. One leads to passivity. The other leads to freedom. Feel the difference in your body. The first feels like opening your hands and dropping everything. The second feels like opening your hands to see what you're holding, and then choosing what to keep and what to release. Both have their place. But they are not the same. In your own life, where might you be using the language of acceptance to avoid making a needed judgment? Where might you be calling it spirituality when it's really resignation? Take a breath. Let the question rest in you. When you're ready, we'll go deeper. Take a breath. Settle back into this space. We've been exploring the difference between modern ideas of acceptance and what the Buddha actually taught. And we've arrived at a crucial point. If acceptance isn't about embracing everything without judgment, then what is it? What did the Buddha actually mean when he used that word? Remember, he used it to mean tolerating, enduring, bearing with something. Not because it's good, not because you love it, but because right now, in this moment, it's simply there. And fighting it would only add more suffering. This is where his teaching becomes incredibly practical. He gives us specific tools for tolerating the things we cannot change, so that we can save our energy for the things we can. Let me tell you a story about a woman named Elena. Elena was a nurse who worked in a busy hospital emergency room. She loved her work, but it came with a cost. She saw things most people never see. Traumatic injuries. Grieving families. The raw edge of human suffering. And over the years, she developed a chronic pain condition in her lower back. The doctors said it was from years of lifting patients, from long shifts on her feet. They gave her medications, exercises, advice. But the pain remained. A constant companion. A dull ache that sometimes flared into something sharper. Elena tried everything. She tried fighting the pain, tensing against it, willing it to go away. That made it worse. She tried the modern idea of acceptance, telling herself, I accept this pain. I welcome it. It's part of me. But that felt like a lie. She didn't welcome it. She hated it. One day, she mentioned this to an older colleague, a nurse who had been working in the ER for 30 years. The older woman listened and then said something surprising. Elena, you don't have to accept the pain. You just have to stop fighting it long enough to do your job. That was the turning point. Elena realized she had been approaching pain as an enemy to be defeated. When that failed, she tried approaching it as a friend to be embraced. Neither worked. So she tried something new. She simply acknowledged it. Pain is here. Not good. Not bad. Just here. And in that acknowledgement, something shifted. The pain didn't disappear. But the suffering around it diminished. She wasn't wasting energy on the second arrow anymore. She was just dealing with the first. This is exactly what the Buddha taught. He used the image of two arrows. The first arrow is the unavoidable physical pain, the harsh word, the loss. It hurts. That's natural. But the second arrow is the one we shoot ourselves. It's the story we add. Why me? This is unbearable. It will never end. That second arrow is optional. That second arrow is suffering. The Buddha's teaching on acceptance is simply this: learn to feel the first arrow without shooting the second. That's all. That's the whole practice of tolerating. But notice what this requires. It requires mindfulness. It requires the ability to see the difference between the raw sensation and the story you're adding to it. And this is where his teaching gets even more specific. When faced with something you must tolerate, the Buddha offers 3 tools. The first is perception. He gives you specific ways of framing your experience to reduce suffering. For harsh words, he suggests reflecting: a painful feeling has arisen from ear contact. It is dependent on contact. When the contact ends, the feeling will end. This simple reflection depersonalizes the experience. It's not about you. It's just a natural process. For physical pain, he suggests seeing it as bubbles on the surface of water, appearing and disappearing in an instant. Not solid. Not permanent. Just moments of sensation arising and passing away. For grief, he suggests reflecting on the universal nature of loss. Everyone who is born will die. You are not alone in this. The universe isn't targeting you. The second tool is expanding the heart. The Buddha uses the image of a great river. If you put a lump of salt into a small cup of water, the water becomes undrinkable. But if you put that same salt into a vast river, the water remains sweet. The salt is the pain. The cup is a small, contracted mind. The river is a mind made vast through goodwill, compassion, and equanimity. When your heart is small, every difficulty poisons everything. When your heart is vast, difficulties are absorbed without disturbing your basic peace. The third tool is remembering your values. When someone speaks harshly to you, the Buddha doesn't say accept it and do nothing. He says remember your precepts. Remember that you don't want to create more harm in the world. Use this difficult moment as an opportunity to strengthen your commitment to non-harm. This is active. This is engaged. You're not just tolerating. You're using the difficulty as fuel for your own transformation. Let me tell you another story. A brief one. There was a monk in the Buddha's time who was constantly harassed by people in a certain village. They would follow him, shout insults, throw stones. Other monks asked him how he could bear it. He said, "It's like this. If people offer you something you don't want, do you have to accept it?" They said no. He said, "Then I don't accept their gifts. I leave them with them." He wasn't accepting their abuse. He was refusing to let it enter his mind. He was letting it stop at his ears, at his skin, and go no further. This is the skill. Not accepting the unacceptable as good or desirable. Just not letting it in. Letting it be there without making it yours. So we come back to this. The Buddha's acceptance is never passive. It's strategic. It's a way of positioning yourself so that you can fight the real battle, the inner battle, without being distracted by things you cannot control. In your own life, where might you be shooting second arrows? Where might you be adding stories to pain, making it last longer than it needs to? Take a breath. Just notice. No need to change anything yet. Just see. When you're ready, we'll continue. Take a breath. Let the last part settle. The two arrows. The salt in the river. These images are tools, meant to be carried with you. And now we arrive at the other side of this teaching. The side that's often forgotten. The side about what not to accept. Because here's the truth. The Buddha spent far more time talking about what to abandon than what to tolerate. His teachings are filled with lists of unskillful mind states to be recognized, investigated, and uprooted. Sensual desire. Ill will. Laziness. Restlessness. Doubt. These are not to be accepted. They are to be understood and released. But how? How do you abandon something that feels so real, so powerful, so much like you? This is where the Buddha's psychology becomes most precise. He doesn't just say, let it go. He gives you a step-by-step method for understanding why the mind holds on in the first place. Let me tell you a story about a man named Marcus. Marcus was a successful architect. He had a beautiful home, a loving family, a career that others envied. But Marcus had a problem. He couldn't stop comparing himself to others. Every time he saw a colleague win an award, every time a friend posted photos of a vacation, every time someone achieved something he hadn't, a wave of envy would wash over him. It was like a sickness. It would sit in his chest, tight and hot, and whisper stories about how he wasn't good enough. Marcus tried to accept this envy. He read about radical self-acceptance and tried to embrace this part of himself with compassion. He would sit with the feeling and say, "You are welcome here. You are part of me." But the envy didn't diminish. It just felt more justified. More entrenched. One day, he was talking to an old mentor, a woman who had known him since he was a young student. He confessed his struggle with envy. He expected her to offer comfort, reassurance, acceptance. Instead, she looked at him and said, "Marcus, why are you being so kind to an enemy?" He was stunned. An enemy? She continued. This envy. Does it make you happy? Does it make you kinder? Does it help you create better work? Does it bring you closer to the people you love? The answer to all these questions was no. Then why are you treating it like a guest? Why are you offering it tea and sympathy? It's not a guest. It's a thief. It's stealing your peace, your joy, your energy. And you're just letting it in. This was a completely different framework. Envy wasn't a part of himself to be accepted. It was an invader to be shown the door. Marcus began to practice with this new understanding. When envy arose, he didn't push it away in anger. That would be fighting, and fighting gives the enemy power. Instead, he got curious. He investigated it like a detective. He asked himself, what triggers this? He noticed it was often when he was tired, or when he hadn't done work that felt meaningful. He asked, "What does it promise?" He saw it promised a sense of worth, a feeling of being enough, if only he could have what others had. He asked, "What does it cost?" He saw it cost him his peace, his presence with his family, his enjoyment of his own life. This investigation didn't happen in one sitting. It happened over months, years. But gradually, something shifted. The envy would still arise, but it had less power. It was like a door-to-door salesman he recognized. He didn't have to get angry. He just didn't have to buy what it was selling. This is exactly the process the Buddha taught. 5 steps. Simple to describe, challenging to practice. First, recognize the origination. See what conditions give rise to this unskillful state. When does it appear? What feeds it? Second, observe its passing away. Without engaging with its content, just watch it. See that it's not solid. It arises and, if you don't feed it, it passes away. This teaches you it's not you. Third, see its allure. Be honest. Why is it attractive? What does it promise? Envy promises worth. Anger promises power. Laziness promises rest. See the hook clearly. Fourth, see its drawback. Look honestly at the cost. What does this state do to your body, your mind, your relationships, your peace? Fifth, escape through dispassion. When you clearly see both the allure and the drawback, the mind naturally loses interest. It's like seeing a beautiful piece of fruit and then noticing it's full of worms. The desire doesn't need to be fought. It just dissolves. This is not acceptance. This is alchemy. This is transforming the base metal of unskillful mind states into the gold of wisdom and freedom. Notice what's missing from this process. Nowhere does it say, judge yourself for having the unskillful state. The Buddha never asks you to condemn yourself. He asks you to see clearly. The judgment is on the action, the mind state, not on the self. You are not a bad person for feeling envy. You're just a human being who momentarily generated an unskillful mental state. And because it's not you, you're free to generate something else. This distinction is crucial. The modern idea of self-acceptance often leads people to identify with their flaws. I accept that I'm an angry person. I accept that I'm envious. But the Buddha would say, don't accept that story. Don't make anger or envy into an identity. See them as visitors, not residents. See them as guests you don't have to keep hosting. Think about your own mind. What unskillful states visit you regularly? What stories do you tell yourself about them? What if, instead of accepting them as part of you, you simply saw them as visitors and showed them the door? Take a breath. Let the question rest. When you're ready, we'll continue. Take a breath. We've been exploring the territory of what not to accept. Unskillful mind states. The visitors that we're out there welcome. And now we arrive at perhaps the most personal territory of all. Ourselves. The modern idea of self-acceptance is everywhere. Love yourself exactly as you are. Embrace your flaws. You are perfect just as you are. This sounds beautiful. And in some ways, it's a necessary correction to cultures that thrive on shame and self-criticism. But if we look closely, we might find that this version of self-acceptance creates its own problems. Let me tell you a story about a woman named Priya. Priya was a graphic designer in her early 30s. She was talented, creative, and deeply insecure. She had struggled with her weight since adolescence, and no amount of success could quiet the voice in her head that said she wasn't good enough because of how she looked. When the body positivity movement emerged, Priya embraced it eagerly. Finally, a message that spoke to her. Accept your body. Love your body exactly as it is. She repeated affirmations in the mirror. She followed social media accounts celebrating all body types. She tried to feel good in her skin. And sometimes it worked. For moments, she would feel a surge of liberation. But always, the old voice would return. And then a new voice joined it. A voice that said, if you really accepted yourself, you wouldn't still feel this way. You must be doing it wrong. Now Priya had two problems. Her original insecurity, and the guilt of not accepting herself well enough. One evening, she was talking to her grandmother, a woman who had lived through war, poverty, and the loss of a child. Priya explained her struggle with self-acceptance. Her grandmother listened patiently. Then she said something Priya never forgot. In my language, the grandmother said, we don't have a word for self-acceptance. We have a word for self-respect. They are different. Priya asked what she meant. Self-acceptance sounds like lying down. Self-respect sounds like standing up. Self-acceptance says, I am what I am, and that's fine. Self-respect says, I am what I am, and I can become more. One closes the door. The other opens it. This was a revelation. Priya realized she had been trying to accept a static image of herself. But she wasn't static. She was alive. Growing. Changing. The question wasn't whether she could love her body exactly as it was today. The question was whether she could respect herself enough to care for it, to nourish it, to move it, to be grateful for it, regardless of how it looked. She stopped trying to force acceptance. Instead, she started small. She thanked her legs for carrying her through the day. She thanked her hands for creating beautiful work. She noticed when she was judging herself harshly and asked, would I speak to a friend this way? This wasn't acceptance. This was something more active. This was kindness in action. The Buddha would have understood this distinction perfectly. Because in his teachings, he never tells people to accept themselves. Instead, he tells them to examine their actions. To judge whether those actions lead to well-being or suffering. And to use that judgment not to condemn themselves, but to learn and grow. Listen to how different this is. The modern approach says, you are acceptable exactly as you are. The Buddha's approach says, your actions have consequences. Learn to see those consequences clearly, and choose actions that lead to genuine happiness. One focuses on your inherent worth. The other focuses on your inherent freedom. Your worth is something you have to prove or accept. Your freedom is something you can always exercise, right now, in this moment. This is why the Buddha never talks about accepting yourself. He talks about having goodwill for yourself. And goodwill is not passive. Goodwill is the active wish for your own genuine well-being. And genuine well-being requires growth. Requires change. Requires sometimes looking at your actions and saying, "That was unskillful. I can do better." Think about someone you truly love. A child, perhaps, or a dear friend. When they make a mistake, do you say, "Just accept yourself exactly as you are, mistakes and all"? Sometimes, yes. In moments of shame or despair, that reassurance is exactly what's needed. But if that's all you ever say, you're not really loving them. You're not helping them grow. You're not wanting more for them. Real love says, "I see you. I accept you completely. And because I accept you, I also see your potential. I see that you're capable of more than this. And I'm here to support you in becoming it." This is goodwill. This is what the Buddha means when he talks about having goodwill for yourself. It's not a warm bath of self-acceptance. It's a commitment to your own liberation. In the ancient texts, there's a teaching that says you should be your own protector, your own refuge. But being your own protector doesn't mean accepting every impulse, every thought, every behavior. It means guarding your mind. It means noticing when unskillful states arise and choosing not to act on them. It means being the kind of friend to yourself who tells the truth, even when the truth is uncomfortable. So here's a question for your own reflection. Where might you be using self-acceptance as a way to avoid growth? Where might you be telling yourself, "This is just who I am," when really you could be saying, "This is a pattern I can change"? Neither answer is wrong. But the distinction matters. Because one keeps you exactly where you are. The other opens the door to freedom. Take a breath. Let the question sit with you. When you're ready, we'll continue. Take a breath. We've been moving through this territory slowly, carefully. Acceptance of what must be tolerated. Non-acceptance of unskillful mind states. And now, a different kind of acceptance. The acceptance of others. This is where things get both simpler and more complex. Because the modern idea of acceptance often extends to everyone around us. Accept people as they are. Don't judge. Don't criticize. Just love and accept. And there's something beautiful in this. The Buddha himself taught the cultivation of boundless goodwill toward all beings. May all beings be happy. May all beings be safe. May all beings live with ease. This is real. This is central to his teaching. But here's the complexity. The same Buddha who taught boundless goodwill also taught being very careful about who you choose as friends. He taught that some people are like enemies disguised as friends. He taught that some people will lead you away from your own well-being. And he taught that part of wisdom is knowing the difference. Let me tell you a story about a man named James. James was a kind person. Too kind, some might say. He had a friend from college named Derek who constantly drained him. Derek would call late at night when he was lonely, and James would listen for hours. Derek would borrow money and forget to pay it back. Derek would make plans and cancel at the last minute. Derek would criticize James's other friends, his job, his choices. But James believed in acceptance. He believed in unconditional love. So whenever he felt frustrated with Derek, he would remind himself to accept Derek exactly as he was. To not judge. To just love. Years passed. James felt increasingly exhausted. He started dreading Derek's calls. He felt a knot in his stomach before their meetings. But he told himself this was his own failing. If he truly accepted Derek, he wouldn't feel this way. One day, James was talking to his older sister. He described his struggle, expecting her to admire his commitment to non-judgmental acceptance. Instead, she looked at him with concern. "James," she said, "what would happen if you accepted Derek exactly as he is, and then decided, based on that acceptance, that he's not good for you?" The question stopped him cold. She continued. "Acceptance doesn't mean you have to keep him in your life. Acceptance means seeing clearly who he is. And once you see clearly, you get to choose. You get to decide what's healthy for you." This was a completely different framework. James had been using acceptance as a reason to stay in a draining relationship. But true acceptance would mean seeing Derek clearly, including the ways their friendship was unbalanced, and then having the freedom to act on that clear seeing. He didn't cut Derek off. That's not the point. But he started setting boundaries. He stopped answering late-night calls. He stopped lending money. He started being honest about his own needs. And something surprising happened. The friendship didn't end. It changed. Derek, for the first time, had to relate to James as a real person with real limits. And over time, their connection became more genuine. This is the distinction the Buddha makes. On one hand, he teaches cultivating a heart of boundless goodwill. Wishing well to all beings without exception. This is an inner attitude, a way of training your own mind. It costs nothing. It harms no one. It protects you from your own ill will. But on the other hand, he teaches being selective about who you spend time with, who you take as a friend, who you allow to influence you. Because he saw clearly that other people shape us. Their views become our views. Their habits become our habits. Their values become our values. In the ancient texts, the Buddha says that admirable friendship is not just important. It's the whole of the spiritual life. He doesn't mean you should only associate with enlightened beings. He means you should be intentional about who you learn from, who you spend time with, who you allow close to your heart. He describes two kinds of friends. Loyal friends who have your well-being at heart. They're helpful. They share your joys and sorrows. They point you toward what's beneficial. They treat you with kindness. These friends, he says, should be cherished like a mother cherishes her only child. And then there are false friends. Those who befriend you for what they can get. Those who are good with words but not with actions. Those who flatter you to your face and criticize you behind your back. Those who lead you into activities that harm you. These, he says, are actually enemies. And they should be avoided like a dangerous road. Notice what's happening here. This is not non-judgmental acceptance of everyone. This is discernment. This is wisdom in relationship. This is using your intelligence to protect your own heart while still wishing well to all. The boundless goodwill you cultivate in meditation is the background radiation of your heart. It's the wish that all beings, everywhere, find true happiness. But in the foreground, in your daily life, you get to choose. You get to decide who you spend your precious time with. You get to decide who influences your mind. This isn't a contradiction. It's wisdom. You can wish someone well from afar while also recognizing that being close to them is not good for you. You can hold them in your heart while also protecting your own peace. Think about your own relationships. Are there people you've been accepting out of a mistaken sense of spirituality? People who drain you, harm you, lead you away from your own well-being. What would it look like to truly see them clearly, wish them well, and also create appropriate boundaries? This is not rejection. This is self-respect. This is the goodwill you owe to yourself. Take a breath. Let the question rest. When you're ready, we'll continue. Take a breath. We're nearing the end of our exploration, but there's one more dimension to uncover. The dimension of action. Of what we actually do with all this understanding. Because the Buddha's teaching was never meant to be just philosophy. It was meant to be lived. Let me tell you a story about a man named Thomas. Thomas was a carpenter. He had learned the trade from his father, who had learned it from his father before him. Thomas took pride in his work. He could look at a pile of raw lumber and see the table hidden inside it, the chair waiting to be released. One day, a young man came to Thomas asking to be his apprentice. The young man was eager but clumsy. He made mistakes constantly. He measured twice and still cut wrong. He sanded with the grain, then against it. He drove nails that split the wood. Thomas watched him struggle. His first instinct was to just accept it. To tell himself, he's learning. This is the process. I need to be patient and accepting. But the mistakes continued. The wood kept getting ruined. And Thomas felt his patience wearing thin. He started to resent the young man, then to resent himself for feeling resentful. One evening, after a particularly frustrating day, Thomas sat alone in his workshop. He looked at a piece of wood the apprentice had ruined. And he had a realization. Acceptance wasn't the problem. Passivity was the problem. He had been trying to accept the mistakes without doing anything about them. The next morning, Thomas took a different approach. He didn't stop accepting the young man. He still accepted that the apprentice was inexperienced, that mistakes would happen, that learning takes time. But he added something to that acceptance. He added action. He began teaching more directly. When the apprentice made a mistake, Thomas didn't just observe it mindfully. He showed him how to fix it. He explained why it happened. He demonstrated the correct technique again and again. He held the young man's hands and guided them through the movement. The mistakes didn't stop immediately. But something shifted. The apprentice felt seen, not just tolerated. He felt taught, not just accepted. And over time, his skills grew. The ruined pieces became fewer. The good pieces became more. Thomas later reflected on this. He realized that acceptance without action is just resignation. It's watching someone struggle and doing nothing. It's watching your own life drift and doing nothing. But action without acceptance is just fighting. It's refusing to see reality clearly and then wondering why your efforts fail. The marriage of the two is where wisdom lives. Accept what is. Then act wisely based on that acceptance. This is the heart of the Buddha's teaching on this topic. He never asks you to just accept. He never asks you to just act. He asks you to do both, in the right order, with the right understanding. First, you accept what you cannot change. The past. The words of others. The body's pains. The reality of loss. You accept these not because they're good, but because they're true. And fighting the truth is the fastest way to add suffering to pain. Then, having accepted the unchangeable, you turn your attention to what you can change. Your present choices. Your responses. Your actions. Your mind states. And here, you do not accept. You work. You strive. You abandon the unskillful and cultivate the skillful. This is the two-step dance of wisdom. Acceptance and action. Toleration and transformation. Bearing and becoming. In the ancient texts, there's a teaching about a goldsmith. A skilled goldsmith doesn't just accept the ore as it is. First, they examine it. They see its qualities, its impurities, its potential. This is acceptance as clear seeing. Then they work it. They heat it, hammer it, shape it. They don't stop until the gold is pure. This is action as transformation. Your mind is the ore. Your life is the ore. Clear seeing shows you what's there. Wise action transforms it into something beautiful. Think about your own life. Where have you been stuck in pure acceptance, using it as an excuse for passivity? Where have you been stuck in pure action, fighting against realities you cannot change? What would it look like to bring the two together? This is not easy. It's the work of a lifetime. But it's possible. And every moment is an opportunity to practice. You can practice right now, with whatever is present. Maybe there's a physical sensation in your body. Discomfort. Tension. First, accept that it's there. Don't fight it. Just acknowledge it. This is what's here right now. Then, based on that acceptance, you can act. You can adjust your posture. You can breathe into the tension. You can choose a different relationship to the sensation. You can practice with thoughts. Maybe there's a worry circling in your mind. First, accept that it's there. Don't judge yourself for worrying. Just notice. Worry is present. Then, based on that acceptance, you can act. You can investigate the worry. You can ask if it's useful. You can choose to focus on something else. You can practice with emotions. Maybe there's sadness. First, accept its presence. Let it be there without pushing it away. Then, based on that acceptance, you can act. You can offer yourself kindness. You can reach out to a friend. You can let the tears come if they need to. Acceptance without action is incomplete. Action without acceptance is blind. Together, they form a path. Take a breath. Feel the truth of this in your own experience. When you're ready, we have one final part. Take a breath. We arrive at the final part of our journey together. Not because the exploration is complete, but because a container must close. What you do with what you've heard, what you carry forward, that's where the real teaching lives. Let me tell you one last story. A story about a woman named Grace. Grace was a gardener. Not a professional, just someone who loved putting her hands in soil. She had a small patch of land behind her house where she grew vegetables, herbs, flowers. It was her sanctuary, her place of quiet communion with something larger than herself. One spring, she planted tomatoes. She chose the seedlings carefully, prepared the soil with compost, watered them faithfully. They grew well at first, strong and green, reaching toward the sun. But as summer progressed, she noticed something wrong. The leaves were curling, turning yellow at the edges. The fruit was small and sparse, nothing like the abundant harvest she had imagined. She consulted books, asked other gardeners, spent hours researching online. The diagnosis was a soil deficiency. The ground where she had planted was simply lacking certain essential nutrients. Nothing she did that season would fully fix it. The tomatoes would never reach their potential. Grace had a choice. She could fight reality. She could rage at the soil, at herself for not testing it sooner, at the unfairness of all her hard work producing so little. She could spend the summer in frustration, wishing things were different, poisoning her sanctuary with resentment. Many people would choose this path without even realizing it. Or she could accept what was true. The soil was deficient. This season's tomatoes would not be what she hoped. The gap between expectation and reality was real, and no amount of wishing would close it. She chose acceptance. But notice what this acceptance looked like. It wasn't resignation. She didn't give up, didn't walk away, didn't let the garden go to weeds. She accepted the truth of the soil, and then she acted within the limits of that truth. She added what compost she had. She adjusted her watering schedule. She gave the plants what support she could, knowing it wouldn't be enough for perfection but might be enough for something. The tomatoes weren't perfect, but they grew. They produced. Small, imperfect, but real. And at the end of the season, she harvested what was there and gave thanks. She didn't curse the small ones. She didn't apologize for them. She received them with the same gratitude she would have given to a perfect harvest. Then, in the autumn, she did something else. She didn't just accept the soil and move on. She worked on it. She added organic matter, turned it deeply, let it rest over winter. She researched soil amendments. She planned for next spring. The acceptance of this season's limits became the foundation for next season's possibility. Without the clear seeing of what was lacking, she never would have known what to add. This is the path. Accept what is. Work with what is. And always, always prepare for what could be. The Buddha's entire teaching can be understood through this lens. He asks us to see clearly. This is the soil. This is what's present. Not what we wish were present. Not what we fear is present. Not what we hope to pretend is present. What's actually here, in this moment, in this body, in this mind. Then he asks us to work wisely with what we see. To choose actions that lead to well-being. To abandon actions that lead to suffering. This is the tending, the watering, the composting. This is where our freedom lives, in the choices we make within the reality we cannot change. And finally, he asks us to keep the future in mind. Not with anxiety, not with grasping, not with desperate hope. With intention. With patience. With the understanding that every choice we make today is preparing the soil for tomorrow. Every moment of mindfulness, every act of kindness, every wise judgment, these are the nutrients we add to the ground of our being. They may not show results today, but nothing good grows without them. This is why the Buddha never taught global acceptance as the final answer. Because acceptance alone doesn't grow anything. It just acknowledges what's already there. And acknowledgement, while essential, is not the end. It's the beginning. It's the foundation upon which all growth depends. Think about your own life. Where have you been stuck because you skipped the acceptance part? Where have you been fighting reality, refusing to see what's actually there, exhausting yourself against walls that will not move? This is suffering multiplied. And where have you been stuck because you stopped at acceptance, using it as an excuse for passivity? Telling yourself, this is just how it is, when really you could be saying, this is how it is, and now I can work with it. This is potential unrealized. The path is the middle way between these two extremes. See clearly. Then act wisely. Again and again. Moment after moment. Breath after breath. In the ancient texts, there's a teaching that compares the mind to a field. The farmer prepares the field, sows the seed, waters, tends. But the farmer doesn't control the rain or the sun or the seasons. The farmer accepts these as given because they are beyond control. But within the field, the farmer's choices matter enormously. Good seed, good care, good timing. These make all the difference between a meager harvest and an abundant one. Your mind is your field. The conditions of your life, your past, your circumstances, your body, other people's choices. These are the weather. You accept them because you have no choice. Fighting the weather is the fastest way to exhaustion. But within your field, you are the farmer. You choose what to plant. You choose how to tend. You choose what to weed out and what to nourish. You choose which thoughts to water and which to let wither. You choose which actions to repeat and which to abandon. This is your freedom. This is your dignity. This is your practice. No one else can farm your field. No one else can make your choices. The weather may be harsh, but the farming is always yours. The Buddha's acceptance is not a passive surrender. It's an active engagement with reality based on clear seeing. It's the courage to look directly at what is, without flinching, without denial, without wishful thinking. It's the strength to say, this is here. This is true. I will not look away. And then, from that clear seeing, it's the wisdom to act in ways that lead to genuine freedom. Not the freedom to control everything, but the freedom to respond wisely to everything. Not the freedom to avoid pain, but the freedom to not add suffering to pain. Not the freedom to have the life you wanted, but the freedom to live fully the life you have. So as we close, I invite you to carry this with you. Not as a new belief to adopt, not as another thing to get right, but as a tool to use. A simple, practical, always available tool. When you encounter difficulty, pause. Take a breath. Ask yourself two questions. First, What must I accept here? What is beyond my control? What is already done? What is simply true whether I like it or not? Breathe into that acceptance. Let it ground you. Let it end the fight with reality. Then ask the second question. What can I do? What choices are mine to make? What actions can I take, however small, to move toward well-being? Even if the answer is simply choosing how to relate to what's happening, that's something. That's your freedom expressing itself. That's you farming your field. Between these two questions, a whole life can be lived. A whole path can be walked. A whole heart can be freed. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening with an open heart. Thank you for giving yourself this time to explore, to question, to sit with these teachings. What you do with it now is up to you. That's always up to you. But know that this space, Monk's Temple, is always here. You can return anytime. Just by taking a breath. Just by asking these questions. Just by sitting quietly with what is. The door is never locked. The invitation never expires. May you accept what must be accepted. May you transform what can be transformed. And may you know the deep, unshakable peace that comes from walking this path with wisdom, with courage, and with care. This is Monk's Temple. Be well. Be kind. Be free.